We didn't finish last week's Torah portion, but I want to finish it because it was speaking about something that's very, very essential. And in fact, that's the only thing that really Chabad Hasidut talks about, either directly or indirectly, is Mashiach. And that's the only thing that Judaism is for. The whole purpose of Judaism is Mashiach, to bring the Mashiach. That's all. We just finished the Rambam. We're starting now Maimonides. Again, we finish it once a year. Some people do. And the Rambam has all the laws of Judaism, very intricate laws that are only going to be when the third temple comes, laws of purity, impurity, sacrifices, etc. And he finishes by saying that, I'm glad you read my whole book, but the main thing is the Mashiach. If you don't believe in Mashiach and wait for him to come in, then you deny the whole entire Torah. Oh, you can throw all the 4 books, the 14 books that I just wrote, you can just throw them all away because that just means nothing. You deny the whole Torah, you're denying God if you don't believe in the coming of Mashiach. That's what Rambam says. Rambam says anyone who does not believe in him and wait for his arrival is not just denying Mashiach, is denying the whole Torah, all the prophets and all the whole Torah. That's pretty severe. But on the other hand, it shows, why and what's so important about Mashiach? The main thing is just to do the commandments and, that's it. And you go to heaven and everything like that. So the Rambam says, yeah, but you're missing the whole point. True, you'll do the commandments, maybe you'll go to heaven, but that's not the goal of Judaism. You're missing the whole goal. The goal of Judaism is to make this world a perfect place, a meaningful place, and every human being to be meaningful and blessed, and show how every person is unique and indispensable and has something unique to contribute to the world. Everyone, every single human being is important, is essential to the world, every human being. And that's why, and only Mashiach is going to show this. Without Mashiach, the world is just in total confusion and life becomes meaningless. It becomes, not everybody's life, of course, but there is an inclination in the world to emptiness. No one is pushing the world toward meaning. Mashiach will push the world toward meaning and blessing and responsibility to the Creator and to the creation and to our fellow man. How do we bring Mashiach? So that's what the Rebbe is talking about. Derech Yashar, the straight way.
Rabbi, is it more about Mashiach that's going to bring meaning into the world, or more about having a Beis HaMikdash that's going to bring meaning to the whole world? I know. But is it more about the teachings of Mashiach that he's going to teach the world, or that people will come to the Beis HaMikdash and they'll see tremendous? It'll be a house that Hashem will live in this world, so to speak.
The Beit HaMikdash and all this, these are results, these are goals of the Mashiach. Without the Mashiach, the whole thing can't happen.
Right.
For example, there won't be meaning, there won't be teaching, there won't be anything. The world will just go like it is now.
Yeah.
Mashiach is one person, like Moses. If there wouldn't have been Moshe, the Jews wouldn't have gotten out of Egypt. They wouldn't have gotten the Torah. They wouldn't have gone into the land of Israel. All the good things that happened, which are essential to Judaism, depended on Moshe.
Right. So the Beis HaMikdash is that necessary step Mashiach will take.
Right. That's yes. Mashiach is the one who's going to orchestrate this whole entire thing. But without the Mashiach, it's just not going to happen. It just can't. And of course, it will happen. There's no doubt it will happen. There's no doubt. But the main thing of Mashiach is to change the priorities. First of all, the Jewish people. That's why he says you have to wait for Mashiach and believe in Mashiach. What do we care? What does it depend on us? The Mashiach will do the whole business, right? But that's the difference between us now and the time of Egypt. In the time of Egypt, 4/5 of the Jews did not want to leave Egypt, so they didn't leave. It says they died in the plague of darkness. They didn't want to leave. But in the future redemption, everyone will want to leave the Gullus. First of all, you have to realize that we're in Gullus, that we're in exile, that we're missing something. And when everybody realizes that we're missing something, then they'll strive to change it. That's the idea of Hasidut, to make us realize what we're missing, and that our striving to change it will facilitate and speed up the revelation of the Mashiach. Listen, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's the Mashiach. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, he is the Mashiach. He's doing all these teachings. he's teaching the world about Mashiach. He's making the whole world crazy about Mashiach. No, who else is doing such a thing? And he's spreading Judaism, waking up Jews all over the world with the Chabad houses, and encouraging Jews to learn Torah and to do commandments. That's the work of Mashiach. That's the work of Mashiach. And I used to say, but the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, is not alive. First of all, the Mashiach can come from the dead. It says in the Talmud. And second of all, it says a lot of places the Mashiach is only hidden. He's not revealed. And the Rebbe even said the Mashiach is not even going to be hidden. It's going to be revealed. So what all these things mean in a normal way, I have absolutely no idea. But one thing I do know is that the teachings of the Rebbe and the presence of the Rebbe and the work of the Rebbe and the energy of the Rebbe and the results of the Rebbe are growing every day, more and more, that we can see constantly. And you say, okay, the Rebbe is not with us in a normal way, but nothing is normal. There's nothing. The Rebbe was never. There was nothing ever normal about the Rebbe, even one moment. Right? The Rebbe healed people. He just gave his name. People were just incredible. Okay, now what the Rebbe is trying to do is to heal the whole entire world, and the way to do it is through us. We can speed it up. What is the straight way to reveal the coming of the Mashiach? Now you can ask a question. I mean, a good question would be to ask. Listen, Mashiach is going to come anyway, right? So what do we have to speed him up for? What's the point? So the answer is very simple. Any minute that the Mashiach does not come, it's another minute of suffering for the whole entire world. Suffering for the whole entire world. There's so much pain and suffering in the world, it's just incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. And you can say, well, listen, there's not a Holocaust, there's not a world war, there's not a this, and people are, relatively everything is okay, There's a lot of disease, there's a lot of hunger, and 99% of it comes from man's inhumanity to man, of just simple cruelty and not valuing life at all, and not thinking about other people, being tremendously selfish and encouraging selfishness and trying to find new venues and ways and of selfishness and perverted types of selfishness and decadent selfishness and weird selfishness, just the self-destructive selfishness, all this selfishness. So the world is suffering in ignorance, and any one moment less of that ignorance is a blessing for all mankind. It's a blessing for all mankind. And that's why it's necessary that we should do everything possible to reveal Mashiach even one moment sooner. So the Rebbe is trying to tell us, number one, that we can do it. We can. And the Rebbe is telling us what we should do, not just it's possible. He's telling us what is our responsibility to do, and we can do it, and it'll work. But we have to do it. What do we have to do? Says, what is the straight way to reveal and bring the Mashiach? How to do it? So the Rebbe said that is, we're counting Sfirat HaOmer, right? One of the Sfirat HaOmer, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be next Shabbat. Let me just think. No, it doesn't. Anyways, next Shabbat. Malchut Shebetiferet. We count what's called the 7 attributes of God, which those are 7 attributes in us also. We're made in the image of God. And each one of those 7 attributes has 7 facets in it. Those 7 facets are also have the same names as these, the same way with God. God has 7 emotional attributes of God, God's love, God's power, God's this. And each one of those 7 attributes has 7 sub-attributes. Okay, so this 3rd week is the week of Tiferet. Tiferet, which means beauty, splendor. That's this week we're in now. Today, by the way, is Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet. That's the birthday of the 4th Rebbe of Chabad, Rebbe Shmuel. Beauty of beauty. Okay, the Shabbat will be Malchut Shabbat Tiferet. Kingship, the aspect of kingship, which is within beauty. These are 7 aspects of beauty, of balance, Tiferet. And we said, what is Tiferet? We said before, that's the Torah. Excuse me, the Torah is the example of beauty in the world, balance, if used properly. The Torah tells us how to balance our lives and how to balance the world, how to use the world, but how to use it in a balanced way that's in tune with the creator of the universe. That's Malchut, is kingship of Tiferet of the Torah. What does it mean? First of all, let's say, since the Mashiach is coming, is supposed to come any instant now. Ella dain lo b'pol, but it didn't actually come yet. Mashiach, the whole purpose of Mashiach, the goal of Mashiach, how when all the Jews do tshuva, first of all, he's going to says he'll fight the battles of God, and then he'll build the third temple. The third temple is supposed to come from heaven. Mikdash Hashem konen yadecha. And then, because he's convinced all the Jews of the importance of commandments, and the only way you can do all the commandments is when there's the holy temple and in the land of Israel. So that will draw all the Jews to Israel. Okay. But the fact is, the Mashiach has not done this yet. He's still fighting the battles of God. Certainly did not build a third temple. And therefore, Derushi Ishtadlus, we have to have a last efforts. That's what we said before. We were talking about the Tazriya, the Matzorah was at the end of the garments. So this is the end of the garments of each and every Jew to bring the Mashiach. What do we have to do? So we have to do something. Lo Dvar Malchut b'tarata. Not that the Mashiach himself is going to do it. That's pure kingship. But by Malchut of Tiferet, the kingship of beauty. What does this mean? What are we talking about? What are we supposed to do? The whole idea of the Mashiach, which is he's the king, that's Malchut. Kafi, as it is in the Torah Tiferet. In other words, we have to learn about Mashiach in the Torah. Like we said, by means of the Torah, which that's the idea of Mashiach, that we said the Mashiach, we said is going to be a king, and he's also going to be a teacher. By means of the Torah aspect of Mashiach, Nimshachim u'mitgalim, that will be revealed the upper lights, the upper revelations of Geula. That's the inyana of the Mashiach as a king. So there's the Mashiach is going to be a teacher. That's the Torah. And then there's going to be the Mashiach as a king. By learning the Torah, which talks about Mashiach, and that's what we do, what we're trying to do anyway. We're learning the Sichas speeches of the Rebbe. We're learning the Torah or Lakuti Torah. The Rebbe said that every Rebbe of Chabad was the Mashiach of his generation. So there were 7 potential Mashiachs of every generation. So by means of learning the Torah, and every one of the Rebbe's of Chabad, they spoke a lot of words of Torah. Hasidut, the Rebbe was the one who really lengthened out this idea of sichas, of speeches that he gave. But all the others have books and books and books of, by learning these things, that's the Tiferet, that's the Torah. This is learning Torah. And Malchut should be Tiferet. What does Malchut should be Tiferet? It means learning Torah about the Mashiach. Be'inyani Geula, she's borrowed in many makomo, in a lot of places. Most people, surprisingly, even religious Jews, there was this one guy, he wrote a book about Mashiach and how Chabad cannot be Mashiach. And it's obvious that he knew nothing about Mashiach. And the little that he read, he just didn't understand. And he was not ashamed to write about it. Very simple, easy learning about Mashiach is the end of the Maimonides. You can look it up in Google. Google, what does it say? It's about the laws of kings. That's what laws of kings. Write it, Google it. Laws of Kings, Rambam. Laws of Kings, Rambam. There you'll get the 11th chapter, 11th and 12th chapter. That talks about Mashiach. What are the qualifications, criteria of Mashiach? What Mashiach is going to do in the Rambam. In Chabad, we have a custom that every day we learn 3 chapters of the Rambam. Not in Moed Nevuchim. That's another book that the Rambam wrote. This is talking about, Moed Nevuchim is answering questions about faith, about this. Here we talk, this book is laws. 14 volumes of laws. It's called the Yad HaZakat, 14 volumes of laws. All of the laws of the Torah. It begins by describing what is the God who we're worshiping, how God creates everything, but God himself is not created, etc. That's how it begins. And it talks about all the different laws of day-to-day laws, and it gets the monetary laws, marriage laws, all the laws of Judaism. Covers all of the laws of Judaism. There's a lot of places where the Rambam writes, and that there's different opinions. Other people have different opinions.
The Shulchan Aruch also, Mishnah Berurah.
Excuse me, let me just finish. People that have different opinions from the Rambam, and they express their opinions. People that are on the level of the Rambam, that explain. Rambam is by Moses ben Maimon. But what he says about Mashiach, nobody disagrees with. No one disagrees with it. No one ever disagreed with it. At his level, nobody disagreed with of his level. So if you want to know something about Mashiach, that's the good place to begin. You begin the last 2 chapters of Maimonides in the book Yad HaChazakah. Just Google it, Laws of Rambam, Laws of Kings. Just write it in English, Rambam, Laws of Kings, and you'll see the whole thing. It talks about criteria of Mashiach. Okay, so you should learn about what Mashiach is. This is learning the Torah, the matters of Mashiach, and the matters of redemption that are explained in many, many places, especially in Hasidut Chabad. Everyone's talking about. That's what we're learning in Likkutei Torah. It's such an important subject. It's such a vital and positive subject that's going to really improve the world. That it's necessary for everyone to at least be interested in it, at least have questions. Okay, how do we learn in the written Torah, and especially in the words of the prophets, that all the prophets are filled with this idea of what Mashiach is, and with Torah Shebal Peh, and in the oral Torah and the Talmud, and especially in Masechet Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin, like page 98 or whatever. You can look it up in English. Tractate Sanhedrin, page 98, 99. There it talks about also these idea of Mashiach. There it's not necessarily for law, but at least all these great people, the different opinions that they have, right, are all valid opinions. It could be that they don't come out to be what the law is, but there's, for instance, there were all the different schools. They said, each one of them said that their Rebbe was the Mashiach. Right? One says Menachem Shemo, one says Yanai Shemo, one says Shiloh Shemo. Until the Sechet Sota, also in the end of chapter of the book of Tractate Sota, and there's Midrashim, and also especially inner Torah. What? Yes. Hechel, beginning in the book of the Zohar. In the Zohar, it says, with this book, the Elijah the prophet said to Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, with this book that you're writing, the Zohar, Yivkun Bey, they will go out from the exile. The Jewish people will go out from the exile in mercy, because the Zohar also explains what it means to have God revealed in the world. What God is, what does it mean to have Him revealed in the world in Kabbalistic terms? But it's nevertheless it explains it. Ubafrad, and especially B'Torah Chasidus, especially in Torah Chasidut, B'Torah Chasidut by means of spreading out the Mayanot. That's what the Baal Shem Tov. Where did the idea of Chasidut Chabad come from? The Baal Shem Tov had this experience that his soul was on a Rosh Hashanah. His soul went up to the highest realms, and he saw the Mashiach. And he said to the Mashiach, "When are you going to come?" It's the same question that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi asked the Mashiach, like 300 years earlier or something. When are you going to come? And the Mashiach said, when your teachings are spread out all over the world. But Torah Rabbeinu, which are found in the teachings of our rabbis, all the 7 rabbis of Chabad, 7 leaders of Chabad, Ubafrad, and especially in the Nasi Dorenu, especially in the teachings, Maimarim and Likkutei Sichos of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's what the Rebbe is saying. Ma'ayin v'dugmas hakana limud Torah shel Mashiach. The previous Rebbe's teachings, those are like the teachings of the Mashiach. Torah Chadasha Miti Teitze says it's going to be a new Torah. You want to know what it means? Mashiach is going to come and make a new Torah. Read the teachings of Chabad. Read the teachings of the previous Rebbe. We're learning the previous Rebbe. We haven't got time to learn everything. We're learning only the first Rebbe and our Rebbe. That it will teach all of the people the inside ideas of the Torah, the reasons for the Torah. Yedias Elokus, knowing God. Da es Elokei Avicha, know the God of your fathers. Like the Rambam says, that in that time, the Jewish people will be great, wise people, and they'll know all sorts of secrets, and they'll understand the knowledge of God. Okay, so again, what is the Rebbe saying? You want to bring Mashiach fast? Learn Hasidut. Learn the ideas of Mashiach that are written in the whole Torah, but especially in the teachings of Hasidut, and that's what we're doing in the morning. V'hosafa b'limud the Torah, adding on to learning Torah in matters of Mashiach and the Geula. That's what's called Malchut, the kingship. That's Mashiach of Tiferet of the Torah. In the Mashiach, how Mashiach is found in the Torah, he derech yeshar. That is the straight and easy path to bring the redemption, the revelation of Mashiach, and a true redemption in this physical world. So Paul, says the Rebbe, I am coming to encourage action. Action. This is not just ideas. True, says the Rebbe. I'm sitting here and I'm talking, and all you hear is words, and you understand the words. So this is the Verbringens, these speeches that the Rebbe is talking about, and he's writing all this is only talk and thought, right? Says the Rebbe. No, wrong. The reason there's all these taught words and all these thoughts is to bring to deed. Says the Rebbe, the main reason I'm saying this is that, of course, the Rebbe was saying this on Shabbat, right? So on Shabbat, and people were listening to him. Mainly, I'm telling you, I wanted, I'm coming to bring this to actual action, deed. Kadei in order. We all to bring about Hidgalot, the revelation, and the arrival of Mashiach immediately on each and every Jew. The men, those are sitting learning Torah, whether we're talking about people that are Talmud the scholars, or whether people that are businessmen, also women, even children, Kol Chad V'Chad, each one according to his level, Lahosiv, to increase in learning the Torah in matters of Mashiach and Geula. Matov, and how good it will be that this teaching will be barabin with 10 people. Key, because Nosaf Alamala Dasara Yoshvim Bosing Torah, in addition to the fact that if 10 people sit and learn Torah, that the Shekhinah is between them. Yesh Malam Yocheres Keshalomdim in your Mashiach. No matter what you learn Torah, that the Shekhinah, God's presence is with you. But especially if you're learning matters of Mashiach and the future redemption, and if you're learning it Barabim with group, Benogea Lit Palut, Besimcha, Beregesh Alev. If you're learning about together, a lot of people learning about Mashiach. So this brings also not just intellect, but also emotions. That you start to be excited. That by means of this, you will have a tremendous desire and a longing for the actual arrival of Mashiach. Right? When you see how good the world could be and how it's not that way now, and the only thing that it depends on is just our learning these ideas and desiring that it should be different. So our desire makes it happen. But would be even more. The Hosif Bekiyam mitzvahs that we should do the commandments, doing not just learning Torah, but also doing the commandments, and doing the commandments in a special, more beautiful way. And especially charity, giving charity, which charity is really in a way the sum total of all the commandments. A makorevis is a gula. You usually give $1 to charity, give $2. You ever give $2, give $2.50, give $5, give $10. You want to really make it beautiful, give 20, give 50. You'll find that the more charity that you give, magically you have more. We're not talking about just selling your house and giving everything to charity. It has to be done in a measure. You have to have a rabbi, a friend, somebody who knows a little bit more than you, or at least a good friend that you can consult with, and talk about it. Talk about what is the way. But giving charity is important. Giving more than you want is also important, and giving with a smiling face in a pleasant way. The Karavazuras, and especially if you give it with the intention that I want that to be a world where there is no more poverty, where there is no more destitute people. There's no more people that are lacking, and they're lacking friends, or they're lacking love, they're lacking money, they're lacking food. Because they're lacking direction, they're lacking meaning. This is part of learning the Torah about Geula, namely learning Torah, like it says, Gadlut Tzedakah, great is charity, that it makes the redemption come closer. Gadlut Tzedakah Shemakarevis is a Geula. May it be God's will that all the decisions that we make will speed up and quicken and bring immediately the purpose, what we're waiting for, the revelation of the Mashiach, actually immediately. Ubapashtus, and simply should be Yom Shabbos Kodesh. I mean, a lot of people can say, "Oh, come on, what's it's not going to do?" This is what I think. If the leaders of the world would all tell their people, "Listen, we've been wrong. We made a big mistake. The fact of the matter is the Torah is the truth. The fact of the matter is that life is precious. There's a creator, and God gave the Torah to the Jewish people to explain how to bring out this meaning and beauty and love in the world. let's listen to what they say. Let's do the 7 Noahide commandments. I've just learned about the 7 Noahide commandments. If the leaders of the world would say this, then first of all, it wouldn't be a big change because everybody wants to do good. Everyone wants to do good. Just people don't know what it means, right? They don't know what it means. Even the Nazis wanted to do good. They thought there was going to be a good world, that they would rule, there would be justice, there would be whatever, right? Communism said they wanted good. All they wanted was they wouldn't should be any poverty. They killed hundreds of millions of people in order to do it, but they really thought that they were doing good. Let's judge them to the side of, right, the merit. So deep down, if someone comes along and they say, listen, I've got something good and I want to do good, so then the world will accept it. They've seen that all these other things don't work. I'm just saying how it could be, even logically, it could work. If the leaders of the world would say, listen, guys, we wanted to do good, we tried to do good, we thought we were doing good, and we were wrong. Now let's continue in our desire to do good and bring world peace and bring world prosperity and bring more love into the world and more identity and self-expression into the world. Let's do the 7 Noahide commandments. It's not such a big deal. What does it mean? Don't kill, don't steal. Now you're going to have to control your personality a little bit, but everybody's into self-control and self-help and self-improvement and self nowadays. I think, I don't know. Anyway, if just the leaders would change their minds and say to the people, then that would take care of 90% of the problems. And the rest God would take care of. And when you find out that the whole thing, really realize that the whole thing was God. It wasn't that they did 90%. God is doing the whole thing, but it depends on us making our free will. Huh?
Isn't it the Jewish nation that will bring the Gula, not the Gentiles?
We have to convince everybody. The Rebbe said we have to, whenever we can, to speak to a non-Jew about the 7 Noahide commandments. The Rebbe
Right.
did an essential thing, but if the Jews, they all get it together, then they won't be able to stand. They won't be able to bear the fact that there's ignorance in the world. And at least present the 7 Noahide commandments to the world. But it depends on the whole world, of course. The whole world has to change. It depends on the Jewish people. Yes, it's in the hands of the Jewish people, no doubt. But part of what the Jewish people have to do is to care about their friends, their next door neighbors, right? We're all made by the same God. The same God makes the Gentiles, makes the Jews. And that's our idea, is to advertise God, the creator in the world, and how precious every creation is. So if the Jews get it together, part of their getting it together will be caring about everybody. That's the idea of the birth and the revelation of the Moshiach. That's what we said before, that the Moshiach was Chavir, he was the leper of the house of Rebbe. Why? Because he suffers because of the ignorance of the whole entire world, the suffering of the world that's caused by their own selves. Shezochim, that we should merit, like that's the purification of the Metzora, of the leper, we said the spiritual leper. Zochim lishma, that we can hear, and we can hear in the whole world, that in the whole entire world, not only the whole world, but all of the worlds. Hine ze mareh be'etzbo melech HaMashiach bo. Behold, here the Mashiach has come. Hine ze kavod kedushas morichami. Hine, this is the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Nasi D'Reinu, the leader of our generation. And the Rebbe always said that he's just a representative he's an extension of the previous Rebbe. It says because they will raise up, the dead will all raise up. And the tzaddikim, they'll be the first ones to raise up. And all of our Rebbes, all of the tzaddikim, all the leaders of the Jewish people, Moshe and Aaron with them, they're all together. And together with all of the Jewish people, they'll all raise up from the dead. The people that are alive, says they won't even have to die, maybe it's for a second, whatever. Bin Arenu, says, in our youth and our elders, our sons, our daughters. The Oda Kabetz Alav Nikbatzav. It says, God said, I will gather them all together. Everyone together. Where does this say? 126 in Isaiah. I will gather them all together. Me'ushar Mitzrayim, from the land of Ashur, Assyria, where that is. Maybe Ashur is America. It's rich. It says rich as Mitzrayim. It says it's Russia. But Mi'iyayam, from the all these prophecies of all the prophets. Where does this prophecy come from? It's also from Isaiah. This is also, all these are from Isaiah. I think we even learned this before. Boim el Anani Shemai, says they will come on clouds of heaven to our holy land, to Jerusalem, the holy city, to Beit HaMikdash, the holy temple. Beit Tefillah, the place of prayer for all people, the Holy of Holies, like it says in the Parsha Shekorim Tekef that we read immediately. Mincha, that's this week's Torah portion. Bezot Yavo Aaron HaKodesh, that's this week's Torah portion. That Aaron will come to the Holy of Holies, the holy high priest, Kohen Gadol, and Yom Kippur will go into the Holy of Holies. And in the future, it won't even just be Aaron, but it'll be every single Jew. They'll all be to the level of high priests, Kohen Gadol. As it already says to the Jewish people, are Mamlechet Kohanim. We are a nation of priests, not just regular priests, but we're high priests. It says high priests. But lo rak Yom Kippur, not just on Yom Kippur, but also every single moment that a person wants to. The whole world will be filled with the awareness of God. It says the whole world will be like the Holy of Holies. But and even more, Shakal, this will be actually done physically, really. Not just we're talking about, fairy tales or metaphors or whatever it is, what do they call it? Or I can't think of the good word. There's a good word for it. Anyway, just stories, whatever. Lamaila, lamata, it should be in this physical world. This should be the reality. That we will be able to give thanks and to bless on the birth, on the revelation of Moshiach. That thank God that He has kept us alive and kept us in existence, and we have reached this time of Mashiach now.
Amen.
It's happen any second, and why it's not happening should make us all crazy. But the only way you can bring Mashiach is by being happy. So you got to be happy, whether you want to or not. And okay, let's do the Yom Yom this afternoon, God willing. We'll do a sikh of the Rebbe, and I'll tell a story. But let us do the Yom Yom. How do we do this one?
How do you always have a story for every day? You have a data bank of stories?
I'll tell you in 1 second.